everyone. Welcome to another edition of Secretary of Shade. Shout out to all my cabinet members. I am your host, DDM. If this is your first time joining, make sure you click the bell and subscribe. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Secretary of Shade. Follow me on social media at Dapper Damitis. We also have the Secretary of Shade TikTok, which will be having a lot of updates coming. That is Secretary of Shade. Just search on TikTok and you'll be able to find us there. Also, too, I have some really good news I've been sitting on. So I announced today that I will be doing a limited run with WYPR, which is an affiliate here in Baltimore of NPR, National Public Radio. So Secretary of Shade will have an audio podcast on essentially NPR. So kudos for that. I'm very excited. I've actually already taken my first episode, Comma Land, which will be premiering just before the Democratic National Convention. So make sure you look out for that. I'll drop the link in our in the post in the chat on the channel. But we have a lot to discuss as always. I tell you, the news just writes itself. But first on the docket, Kamala Harris has selected her vice presidential candidate nominee, and he goes by the name of Tim Walz. That's W-A-L-Z, not W-A-L-T-Z, like some of us have been doing. Okay, and saying Tim Walz was selected as the VP for Kamala Harris. Now, I personally like this pick a lot. I like this pick a lot because he doesn't have any damn baggage. Okay? I am so sick of baggage. It is crazy to me that in these United States, we have not been able to find candidates who are just good people who work in service in the government. And looking at Tim Walz, he definitely appears to be that. Now, there were other candidates, which we talked about previously here on the show, but Tim Walz is the winner of the 2024 Vice Presidential Hunger Games for the Democratic nomination. Now, Mr. Walz currently represents Minnesota, governor of Minnesota, originally from Nebraska, okay? High school football coach, teacher, like all-American. He has sense, okay? He's the everyman. Now, I went and researched Mr. Walz, hopefully future VP Walz, just to get an idea of who he is. So, Minnesota guy, born and raised in West Point, Nebraska, okay? Enlisted in the Army National Guard. Served for 24 years in the Army National Guard. Went to Chadron State, I might have butchered the name, Chadron State College in Nebraska. Got a teaching degree in 89. Moved to Minnesota with his wife in 96. Okay, now, the interesting thing when I was reading up on him, he got into politics, like he wasn't even thinking about politics, right? He actually got into politics, reportedly, because some of his students, him and some of his students were denied entry to a 2004 George W. Bush campaign event because organizers found out they were Democrats. I tell you, spite and fury are powerful motivators, and they always have been throughout history, right? So, in 2006, He won the race to represent Minnesota's 1st congressional district, flipping a Republican seat in a rural part of the state. In Congress, Walz positioned himself as a rare moderate Democrat who was a supporter of gun rights. He got an A rating from the National Rifle Association. Okay? Praised then President George W. Bush for proposing to expand the Army National Guard forces, but also criticized Bush for his lack of direction for the mission in the Iraq War. He also would win re-election to that seat 5 more times before leaving that position to run for governor. He won the gubernatorial race in 2018 by 10 percentage points against the Republican candidate. Okay? So let's take a look at this, right? If I am in Kamala's team, if I'm on Kamala's team, right, and I'm looking at all my candidates, this guy looks good on paper. Why? I like the fact that he's an advocate for gun rights because it shows an even temperament. He's not so liberal. He's not super right. He's sitting right in that middle spot. Also, too, at one of the high schools he taught at, he helped start a gay-straight student alliance. So you have, the man got range. It's giving home on the range. Okay? But that's not all. In 2018, after the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in Parkland, Florida, he had a discussion with his daughter. His daughter was really scared about it. His daughter urged him to do more to prevent gun violence. When he ran for governor that year, he donated all of the money that the NRA gave him, donated all of the money to charity and publicly pushed for background checks and eliminated reciprocal carry agreements between states. Okay? He won re-election for governor in 2022. He also signed an executive order to remove the college degree requirement for 75% of Minnesota state jobs. Offered funding for free meals at schools and free college tuition for students from low-income families in Minnesota. So this man is doing the work. Like, when I was really, because outside of the whole weird comment, because, he's the one that's like, J.D. Vance and Trump are weird, which we all, chuckled at. But he's the one that, I think that put him on the general public's radar more. But when you actually look at his resume and look at his proof of works, okay? Everybody say proof of works. When you look at the proof of works, the man has a good resume. He's done great things. Okay? He's also looking at, from what I look at his record, every issue on a case-by-case basis. He's a family man, but also, too, he speaks to people who may not have family. I say this all the time, I don't have children. I don't have a partner. It's just me. I don't have, all of that going on. So what are you going to do for me besides take my tax money and tax me to high hell? Okay? So all of these things may come appealing to a lot of people. Now, we know that there are going to be folks on both sides of the aisle that are going to, they voting for who they voting for, and that's it. But what he does is, for those people that are on the fence or in the middle, he's a very enticing and appealing candidate. And not for nothing, he just has great energy. And in the time that we're in now, where everything is so nasty, the discourse is so toxic, it's so jaded, this is the kind of energy that you need. And Kamala had a rally yesterday. where Tim Walz spoke and he did a phenomenal job. And you just felt like what I like about this ticket, I'm not saying that they perfect people by far. But what I like about this ticket is it feels like we're not just going to go into this never ending train wreck where we're going to be in The Handmaid's Tale or 1984. And I think that's a huge fear that a lot of people have in the country. And I think it's good to see this kind of energy. Energy can change a room and it can shift an atmosphere. And I think the Kamala Harris team was really on to something when they selected him. Now, the thing is, she had other candidates who were also very, very enticing, you know, very, very, very much capable, very qualified. Okay? Now, one of those candidates that everybody was talking about was Josh Shapiro. Okay? Josh Shapiro is the governor of Pennsylvania, current governor of Pennsylvania. He just won an election not too long ago. And he also spoke at the rally yesterday, and he was phenomenal. The man's a star, but he didn't get picked. Now, he is of Jewish descent, and of course, you know, some of the, you know, right-wing and some even, you know, liberals, left-leaning liberals, hard left liberals, were like, well, they didn't pick him because, you know, he's Jewish or what have you and things like that. But at the end of the day, while he is very pro-Israel, he also got some other shit going on. Now, the pro-Israel shit in this climate, and we're going to get to that in a minute with Cori Bush, but in this climate, the Israel, Hamas, the Gaza, that shit, it plays a heavy part in things. It just does. It's no getting around it. And that's something that, you know, one has to take into account, because you're not just running for the president of Pennsylvania, bitch. You're running for the president of these United States. And one of the big criticisms of Joe Biden was the amount of money and support that he's given Israel. Now, I'm not here to say who's wrong or right. I'm just speaking on what people are thinking and what they're saying. Okay? Tim Walz has pro-Israel leanings too, but it just looks different coming from him. All right? Now, one of the other reasons, and this is the reason that has been kept out of the news because it would kind of make more sense to a lot of folks. Mr. Shapiro was involved, albeit not directly, but adjacent to a whole sexual harassment scandal with one of his aides. Okay? So let's take a look at this. This is coming from the Daily Mail. Okay? As governor of Pennsylvania, Shapiro's office recently settled a sexual harassment case against one of his top aides in a deal that cost taxpayers $295,000. It also involved the alleged victim signing the kind of all-encompassing secrecy deal that was exposed during the Me Too scandal. Shapiro's handling of the harassment case last year was set to ignite questions over Harris's judgment if she picked him as her potential vice president. Now, here's the thing. Kamala's campaign, very pro-women, very reinstate Roe versus Wade, very equal pay, all of those things. So, off the rip, if that's her thing, she can't pick him. She just can't. Outside of the whole Israel-Hamas shit, she just can't pick him. And that's the reality. Okay? Now, Shapiro's office paid the money to a female former employee who had made a string of allegations against a man who had been one of his closest political friends for 2 decades. As part of the agreement, the woman and Shapiro's office signed a non-disclosure deal or agreement, an NDA. All right? Mike Vereb, 57, was serving as Shapiro's Secretary of Legislative Affairs when he resigned in September. It later emerged that harassment allegations had been made against him 6 months earlier, but he had remained in his position. A statement from the alleged victim to the Office of Equal Employment Opportunity was obtained by the Philadelphia Inquirer. In it, she described how Vereb had allegedly suggested that they should have a sexual relationship. He allegedly told her, if you decided you wanted to do that, go close the door to this office, tell me to bring you over this conference table, hike up your skirt, and that will be our decision to make. You know what? These professional people, these, corporate types, they nasty. And they're very busy. Very busy. Not close the door and hike up your skirt and bend you over the table. Like, really, sir? So, when I look at this, and then you would be running with the first female, serious presidential candidate. It's a hell no for me. It don't got nothing to do with you being Jewish. It don't got nothing to do with you having a pro-Israel stance. I can't pick you if I'm Kamala Harris. I just can't. I can't pick you. It's enough. Now, Mother Shapiro, he gives a great speech. He gives you what you need. He is a star. But he gonna be a star on his own time, not on Kamala Harris's time. Okay? So you got that going on. Now, in other news, Cori Bush. So Cori Bush lost her primary. She lost re-election. But it's not just that she lost re-election, right? She lost re-election with assistance. Okay. So, and this is coming from Politico. Representative Cori Bush, Democrat from Missouri, was defeated in a primary Tuesday, becoming the second member of the Progressive Squad to be ousted this year after massive spending by pro-Israel groups. Wesley Bell, the elected lead prosecutor in St. Louis County, Missouri, beat Bush in what became the second most expensive House primary in history, thanks largely to the over $8 million in spending from the United Democracy Project, the super PAC arms of the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. So, they had a cake baking for Cori Bush. No shade, no shade. Now, the thing with that is, when you think about it, here's the thing. Cori Bush was one of the first people in Congress to ask for a ceasefire in Gaza, stop selling weapons to Israel, things of that nature. And she's the second person that was targeted by this PAC. Jamal Bowman, they spent $12 million on him. They spent $8 million on her. So this bothers me, and here's why. I'm not a big fan of super PACs in general. Either way, I think that the public should be able to make the decision. Yes, we want you to know why we should vote for you, or you want your team to let people know why the public should vote for you. But I have a problem when you have all of this money being dumped into local races, because you're using a national issue to influence a regional government. And I have a problem with that, because while you may disagree with her wanting a ceasefire in Gaza and all of that, also too, how is that impacting what is being done for the state of Missouri and the people and their regional issues? Now, they didn't do anything against the law, but this does send a signal to people that if what these two oustings say is that if you speak out against the Israeli government, and I want to be clear about this, not Jewish people, not Jewish religion, but the government in Israel, you will pay for it. And that's what these two say. Also, too, this reinforces why local elections really matter. And the people who sit at the top understand that. It's the small folk, the regular people, who don't get it. Because why would you spend $8 million on a house race in Missouri? You know why? Because you're knocking out two people who, when they go to national, when they go to Congress and it's time to vote for them, that spending to give Israel more money or things like that, those two people can impact that. They don't give a shit about the local politics or issues that are facing people in St. Louis or in Missouri. They don't give a fuck about that. They thinking about that funding. Okay? Now, her challenger, Wesley Bell, was backed by the leading pro-Israel lobbying group, of course, American Israel Public Affairs Committee. The race was AIPAC's second targeted attack on a squad member this cycle, with roughly 95% of precincts reporting election results. Bush trailed by less than 6,000 of the 112,000 ballots cast. The Associated Press called the race 2 hours after polls closed. After spending more than, $17 million to topple Rep. Jamal Bowman in New York in June, AIPAC shifted its focus towards ousting Bush. The group poured more than $8 million into the race to unseat Bush in less than 2 months. Outside groups dumped $18.2 million into the race. Bell's backers outspent groups supporting Bush roughly 4-1. AIPAC Super PAC spent $8.5 million backing Bell's campaign. Democratic Majority for Israel PAC spent $500,000, and major Democratic donor Reid Hoffman's Mainstream Democrats PAC spent $1.5 million in support of Bell. One thing I must say, they spoke with their dollars and not their mouth. And it's a lot of folks that need to learn how to do that. A lot of folks that need to learn how to do that. But this also, if I'm a St. Louis or Missouri resident, I'm now questioning Mr. Bell, the person who beat her in the primary. Because who do you represent? Who do you have to answer to now? Is it the people, or is it these PACs and these businesses that spent all of this money, 18.2 million, into this? That's the question we got to ask ourselves. And I'm not a big advocate of folks spending money like this anyway. I've said it a million times. But this is scary because what's to stop it from happening in other states? Oh, if you say ceasefire in Gaza, or if you question the Israeli government, bitch, we will take your seat from you. And that's not really cool. Because in this country, I thought we had a right to agree to disagree, or at least hash out our disagreements. And Cori Bush, she was pissed. She was pissed last night. Her concession speech, she said she coming for AIPAC's head. And I quote, she's coming, in quoting, I'm coming to tear your kingdom down. Sis said the handcuffs is off. She said, while I love my job, now I don't have the restraints no more. And I'm going to get you. And I'm going to tell you something. I was raised by a black woman. I've worked in corporate with black women. And I'm going to tell you, ain't nothing like a motivated, focused black woman with a vendetta. Because she going to get you. And that's all I got to say about that. But that's our show for today. Make sure you're following us on YouTube, youtube.com/Secretary of Shade. Don't forget to follow us on TikTok. Follow me at Dapper Dan Midas on social media. If you want to donate to the channel, you can do that via Super Chat or Venmo, Cash App, Dapper Dan Midas. I hope everybody has a great week. I will see you guys next week, and I'll be dropping a link for the podcast on YPR. And I can't wait for you guys to listen to that because I'm working really hard on it. And I will see you all soon. With that being said, peace and love. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you.